Okay, ang time check natin ay 9 minutos pasado alas 8 sa programa natin ng panggabi mga kababayan. Okay, dito po sa Serbisyo Publiko halo-halo special opinion balita tiba pa na. Okay, sa platform ng ADLSNTV News Online, both local and international mga kababayan, no? Okay, yan ang tama ay sa programa halo-halo special opinion balita tiba pa kasama Serbisyo Publiko tinig ng mamamayan at saka sumbungan ng mamamayan sa gabing ito mga kababayan, no? Okay. Magandang gabi. Good evening. Okay, kumusta kayo? Ayan, buwati tayo sa universal greeting natin. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh. Ayan po. Alin po ang unahin natin? Itong local politics o itong bakbakan mga suki mga kababayan, no? Okay, ang ultra-nationalist settler, gusto po mag-establish ng resident nila sa Gaza mga kababayan, no? Ayan. Alin ang unahin natin? Itong parang magaan-gaan ito sa atin mga kababayan, no? Pero ito ang mabigat ito. Okay, baka lalo magkagulo ito mga kababayan pag gawin nila ito, no? Okay, ang parte ng Gaza ay parang kukunin ata ng mga ultra-nationalist, okay, ng mga Israeli mga kababayan. Napakinggan natin, no? Okay, ito na lang unahin natin. Okay, saka na lang tayo papunta sa local politics. Okay, ito po ay hindi parang hindi maayos. Mas lalo po magpagulo ito mga kababayan. Okay, kung gawin nila. Okay, itong mga ultra-nationalist settler mga kababayan na. Pakinggan natin. Sige. Ayan.
While Israel's government has not yet confirmed its post-war plans for Gaza, the far-right settler movement has been clear about what it wants. Israeli ultra-nationalists are calling for the building of settlements in the Gaza Strip once the war is over with Hamas, the militant Islamist group that launched the terror attacks on Israel on October 7th. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has ruled out a resettlement, but several members of his government have joined the calls to begin building.
Airstrikes and operations on the ground as Israel tries to root out Hamas from Gaza. Death and destruction throughout the Strip. But here at a conference in Jerusalem, far-right Israeli settler organizations are making plans for the day after. Daniela Weiss is a settler and activist.
The aim of this assembly is to bring together the people who claim that we have to return to the Gaza Strip and establish Jewish communities right away. In the Gush Katif area, in the city of Gaza itself, and all over the Strip. The Arabs will not stay in Gaza, not the Hamas, not the supporters of Hamas. And those who do not support Hamas don't want to stay anyway.
Those kinds of plans are not government policy. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has said Israel does not intend to establish a permanent civilian presence in Gaza again. But a number of his ministers were at the conference calling for Israeli settlements in Gaza, including the National Security Minister. Today, everyone understands that retreat brings about war, and if we don't want another October 7th, we need to return home to Gaza and control the territory to encourage voluntary immigration of Palestinians. Mustafa Barghouti of the Palestinian National Initiative told the Al Jazeera news outlet that this is not a joke. These are the people who are making the policy in Israel, and they were calling for the complete ethnic cleansing of the people of Gaza. In 2005, Israel evacuated its settlements in Gaza, the largest of which was called Gush Katif, after a 38-year occupation. The evacuation was framed as a move to improve security. but Hamas started firing rockets into Israel soon afterwards. Building new settlements in Gaza doesn't have majority Israeli support. A recent poll found 44% in favor. But Netanyahu has not shut down his own minister's calls for a return. He's just said the plans are not realistic. Those calls have been condemned by Israel's allies, Germany and the US.
Some of this rhetoric and language that was attributed to some of these ministers at this event, irresponsible, reckless, incendiary, I'd go so far as to say, and certainly doesn't comport with our strong policy statement, what we have made clear, that there can be no reduction in Gaza territory.
The fact that resettling Gaza is being discussed at all has raised fears that the issue has come out of the fringes and will gain legitimacy. Meanwhile, Daniela Weiss told DW she might not wait for permission. She wants to lead a group of settlers to start building in Gaza.
Aya Ibrahim filed this report. She joins us from Jerusalem. Now, Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has said publicly that Israel is not planning for a permanent presence in Gaza, but the attendance of his ministers at that meeting seems to suggest at least some support of the discussion. Is he playing both sides there?
What the Prime Minister has also not done is start formal planning or formal conversations within his government about plans for the day after. And analysts have been telling me that's because there's a fear that once these conversations really start, there will be a huge break in his cabinet, because as we've seen in that report, there seems to be a lot of differences there. What the settler leaders of the settler movement have told me and told other media outlets as well is that Netanyahu's statements, because he said many things about Gaza, to them leave a gap of interpretation. So while he has said that he thinks that settlements are not realistic, or a return of settlements in Gaza are not realistic, he's also said on multiple occasions that Israel needs to maintain security control of the Strip, and at times he has said that the maintenance of that security needs to be indefinite. He has also rejected calls for a two-state solution and the return of the Palestinian Authority to the Gaza Strip as a governing body. And what that says to settlement leaders and right-wing members of his cabinet is that there's a room for interpretation. That's how they see it, and that's why they are organizing at the scale that we just saw in that report. And for me, what's been astonishing covering the story is how the movement for a call of resettlement has evolved just in the past couple of weeks. It was always there since the disengagement in 2005, since Israel pulled out, but how far it's made it into the mainstream political spectrum with ministers even outside, even within the Prime Minister's party has been astonishing. In November, there was a small conference in the south of Israel with a couple of fringe figures from the Knesset. There have been more meetings since, and then from November till this weekend, where we've seen that huge conference, we've seen ministers from the Likud, at least more than 10 government ministers attend and endorse these plans. And that's very alarming, the pace of this movement and how it has sort of imposed itself on public discourse. And the Prime Minister has left a huge vacuum as to what his exact plans are.
Now, legality and government support aside, is there a chance that settlers could also take matters into their own hands?
I think we have to look at how the settlers have been acting in the occupied West Bank to get a little bit of an insight into how they see all of this. Now, the West Bank is occupied territory. It's been occupied by Israel since 1967. Consecutive Israeli governments, but especially this government, have supported the building of settlements, Jewish settlements there, which are considered illegal under international law, but are not illegal under Israeli law.
Daniel, kunin ang ari-arian mo. Para sa akin, mabuti na lang mamatay na ako. Ayan. Okay, wala ka ng future. Ayan po mga suki, ang kalagayan ng mga tao ron po sa Gaza, mga kababayan. Ayan. Okay. Saan tayo pupunta mga kababayan, no? Okay. Okay, sandali lang, no? Hanapin ko yung saan na yun. Okay, magaan-gaan na balita tungkol sa ekonomiya po ng Pilipinas mga kababayan, no? Okay, lagi na lang mainit ang balita natin. And then, okay, para magaan-gaan naman ang balita, no? Ayon dito, strong growth, domestic product expansion, gives sa Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas room to further hike rates. Okay, basahin po natin ang balita ito, no? Ayan. Sige. Ayan. Okay, Manila, Philippines, the impressive economic growth by the Philippines in 2023 will give the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas more space to further raise interest rates in case of a shock, according to the economists. Ayan po mga kababayan, no? According to economists. Ayan. Okay, Aris Dakanay, economist for Asian, the Hong Kong Shanghai Banking Corporation said that the Philippines is well positioned to become the fastest growing economy in the region after its gross domestic product GDP grew by 5.6%, no? Okay. Kasi mataas-taas ang growth natin, no? Okay. Although is lower than the 7.6% expansion recorded in 2022 and lower than the government 6 to 7% target, Dakanay said the growth was above the market, mga kababayan, na? Okay, was above the market daw. Ibig sabihin po maganda. Ayan, maganda ang ekonomiya, no? Okay, sige, tuloy natin, no? Okay, expectation. Was above market expectation if there would be no major upside surprise in Indonesia, fourth quarter 2023 GDP released next week, okay, the Philippines is in a strong position to emerge as the ASEAN fastest growing economy in 2023, Dakanay said. He said that the 5.6 growth in the fourth quarter of last year orders lower than the 6% expansion. The third quarter was also well above market expectation. According to Dakanay, the Philippines showed the fastest inflation rate, okay, in the ASEAN, the most aggressive tightening cycle made across the region uh, central bank. But the archipelago only planes as it continued to sprint, growing above market expectation. The majority of the year, yes, full yield growth was before trending at a 5.6%, but it was impressive. Okay, all things considered, he said. Ayan. So, yung mga economists po natin ibig sabihin magandang ekonomiya natin, no? Okay. Pero hindi ko ramdaman, no? Oo nga, magandang ekonomiya, pero hindi naman, wala tayo naramdaman po dito sa Mindanao, mga kababayan, no? Aywan kong iba. Pero ako ilang taon na ba si Pangulo, no? Okay, since 2022, 2023, 2024, may 2 taon, no? Hindi ko pa naramdaman. Ayan po mga suki, mga kababayan, na. Okay, so continue natin ang balita. Inflation accelerated further to 6% in the 2023 from 5.8% in the 2022, breaching the central bank 2 to 4% target for 2 straight years. Okay, with the growth impressive, we think that the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas, BSP, has room to tighten policy further if inside risk inflation emerges. However, we don't think the fourth quarter 2023 trend was high enough to warrant a rate hike in the February rate settling meeting, Dakanay said. Ayan po mga may meeting sa no? Okay. MB ata, Monetary Board. The first rate is setting, the first rate setting meeting of the 7 member of the Monetary Board is scheduled on February 15. Nonetheless, if inflation in the first half of 2024 continues to ease, which is our baseline scenario, we believe the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas would keep its monetary stance unchanged at a 6.50%. Okay, he said. Okay, according to the Kanay, the central bank will only do its first rate cut at the same time as the U.S. Federal Reserve the second quarter of the year. Ayan po mga suki na. Okay. So, kunti na lang. May ilang paragraph? 5 pa paragraph? Okay. For 2024, the British banking giant says the Philippine economic expansion is slowing further to 5.3%, but believes risk after the tilted On the upside, with the labor market performing stronger and easing inflation. Despite having one of the highest policy rate, okay, and inflation in the region, Bank of the Philippine Island lead economist June Neri said the country likely registered one of the highest real gross domestic product growth in 2023. Neri said the country's fourth quarter GDP growth would have been a lot faster if the government spending, okay, in the third quarter had been maintained. Okay, government spending contracted by 1.8% in the fourth quarter of 2023 after expanding by 6.7% in the third quarter. It's possible that a capital formation rather, a growing double digit the fourth quarter means the positive real interest rate can be maintained in the 2024 without necessarily slowing the economic much, Neri added. Okay, A and Z, Chief Economist Sanjay Mathur, Economist De Balika Sarkar, said the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas is expected to deliver its first rate cut the fourth quarter of the year of 2024, no? Okay, based on the growth outlook, the further moderation in inflation, we believe the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas will deliver its first rate cut in the fourth quarter of 2024. We forecast the year-end policy rate over 6%, they said. ANZ sees a growth domestic product, okay, gross domestic product, okay, yun ang tama, gross domestic product growth over 5.6% this year, driven, okay, by stable private consumption and a modest improvement in export. Nasabi ko ang gross, no? Okay, correct ko, gross domestic product po, mga kababayan, no? Nasabi ko si growth. Okay, tama naman, growth, 5.6%, no? 5.6%. Growth yun. Okay, gross ang right term. Okay, gross domestic product, mga kababayan. Nasabi ko kasi growth domestic product. Sorry po. Okay, alam mo, okay, minsan din maligap ka, mga kababayan, no? Okay, tao lang tayo. Okay, mga suki-suki sa nakikinig sa akin, tao lamang tayo, mga kababayan, no? Okay, magkamali talaga. Okay, sandali lang. Dito po.
Female voice, male voice, lolly voice, monster voice.
Ayan po, mga suki, mga kababayan ng balita natin, no? Okay, sandali lang. Okay, mag-break muna tayo, no? Okay. obserbahan mo nyo, no? Ay, ako itong observation ko, no? Magbasa ko mga news na okay para sa kapakanan ng bansa, katulad mga binasa ko doon sa tungkol sa Central Bank, tingnan mo ang sound, nakisama po mga kababayan, no? Pero pag magbasa ko ng news yung kontra po sa interest ng daigdig, daming splinter po mga kababayan sa balita ko, no? Hindi nga, tahimik. Tahimik po mga kababayan, no? Kasi ang binabasa ko news, katulad ng Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas News, okay, kapakanan ng bansa mga suki, no? Pero kung mga negative, magpuna ako. Okay, mainit ang mga pagpuna ko. Ayan po. Ay maraming splinter, maraming sound na pumasok po na sumira po ng sound. Ayan. Talagang okay, check-in time natin. Time check natin. 40 minutos po pasado na alas 8. Sandali lang. Balikan po natin ng ibang news, no? Ayan. Sandali lang. Pahinga ko muna ang boses ko. Okay, explosive naman mga kababayan. Explosive naman itong mga grupo po ng kabilang panig, no? Exclusive view from the Palestinian resistance naman. Kanina mga ultra-rightists, okay, galing po sa Israel. And then itong kabila naman, okay, galing naman po sa mga Palestino mga kababayan, no? Okay, so sigurado naman na explosive ito. Ayan. Okay, kaya nga itong balita natin balanse talaga mga kababayan. No? Wala kayong masabi sa akin. Okay, mga balita natin balanse. Okay. Sige, pakinggan natin naman ito.
We need a new system. We need a new society. We need to demand that which may have sounded impossible even a few weeks ago, but is not only realizable, but an imperative necessity. What does the Palestinian resistance say about the current war raging against the Palestinian people by the Israeli Defense Forces? Today, we're talking to one of the leaders of the Popular Front for the Liberation of Palestine, PFLP. He is talking to us from Lebanon. Welcome to this week's episode of the Socialist Program. I'm your host, Brian Becker. Today, we're talking with Haitham Abdo. He is a representative of the PFLP in Lebanon. Thank you so much for joining our show.
Thanks for you.
Haitham, before we get started, I just want to frame this conversation. There is a mass movement in the United States in opposition to the U.S. support for the Israeli genocidal campaign against the people of Gaza. The U.S. is deeply involved in this war. It funds the war. It arms the Israeli military. One of the major problems for people in the United States is that we don't get to hear from the representatives of the Palestinian side. And in fact, many of the organizations in the Palestinian resistance, including the most important ones, are labeled by the U.S. government as terrorist entities, as terrorist organizations. In fact, this is an official label put on these organizations by the U.S. government. And as a result, it's almost a prohibition against talking to people from Palestine. That's why we wanted to talk to you, because you are a leader of one of the trends within the Palestinian resistance. Just before we get started, how do you respond to this allegation, this labeling, this characterization by the US government that PFLP and the other resistance organizations are terrorist entities?
When we talk about the terrorist, we should know what is the definition of the terrorist. Is the terrorist who one defend on the ground? Is the terrorist the one make the battle for our people? Is the terrorist who the one our land and carried out massacre and genocide in 48? The one who killed the children and the woman in Gaza now, more than 27,000 of people killed in the past 4 months. Who is the terrorist? The terrorist, the Zionist occupation. The terrorist now is the one who supports this occupation, which is the imperialism, which is the United States of America and the Western. This is the terrorist, and not our people, not our for our resistance. We have the right to resist, to return our land.
Haitham, as the war in Gaza continues more than 4 months, as you mentioned, more than 27,000 dead, many, many more wounded. So many people have had their homes destroyed or their homes damaged, so that you have a refugee crisis, a humanitarian crisis, a crisis of hunger. This war goes on and on. What are the major demands that the resistance forces are making in order to have a long-term ceasefire agreement? What will it take for this agreement to be reached?
First of all, we need to stop the aggression against our people. This is the first step. Stop the aggression against our people. Second, let the siege and bring in relief and in medical supply all the necessary needs of our people in Gaza. Also confirm that any attempt to circumvent the demand for the cessation of aggression don't meet the demands of our people and serve the occupation. What we need to break the siege on the Gaza Strip, the beginning to supply our people with the all necessities of life, while at the same time enabling us to rebuild institution and infrastructure, providing the supplies to reactivate it and support the system, which was about to collapse under the weight of the barbaric acts of the Zionist aggression, and transferring serious cases of the wounded in the Gaza Strip to treatment abroad in a brotherly and friendly country. Well, this is what we need as an initial thing. And the second thing, after this, after stop the occupation or the occupation leave the Gaza Strip, then put out the prisoners. They need to do 3 phases about the release of prisoners and there is fire. We affirm that the first thing to seize the fire, then we can look about the prisoners. This is what we resistance.
Do you think that the Netanyahu government, very right-wing government, many characterize it as a fascist government, do you think the Netanyahu government and Netanyahu as an individual leader actually wants the war to end, or does he look to a longer war and perhaps a wider war, a regional war?
I think Netanyahu needs this war to continue, this war to extend to all the region, because he know well after this war, the first day after the war ends, he will go to the jail. Because of this, he trying to extend this war. He trying to go to the other countries like Lebanon, like Syria, like all these countries, but he didn't succeed in this issue. He needs to go far through assassination of the resistance commander like Al-Aruri and like the Iran command in Syria and like what he do. He don't want, he did not want to stop this war. This is the reality.
All around the country, I think when Joe Biden or Anthony Blinken go and speak, if they're speaking at a hall, if they're speaking on a university, people are disrupting their speeches and chanting, "We demand a ceasefire. We demand a ceasefire." The Biden administration from the beginning embraced Netanyahu. I mean, he was hugging Netanyahu. I thought he was kissing Netanyahu. And he said, we are with Israel, 100%, 100%. Here we are 4 months later. Global public opinion has turned so demonstrably against Israel and against their patrons, against their sponsors in Washington. And yet, so far, the Biden administration has not insisted on a ceasefire. What's your assessment of where the Biden administration or the U.S. government stands on this? What are they hoping for? What are they looking for? Why are they taking the position that they've taken so far?
I think if Biden needs to stop or to ceasefire in Gaza, he can do this through an hour. But he don't want to also to stop this war in Gaza. And on the other hand, he don't want to extend this war in all the region. He wants to continue the aggression in Gaza, but on the other hand, he don't want to stand war on the region. And we saw that through the visits of Blinken and the Hofstein to this area. What they want from Lebanon or from Syria or from the area to not extend the war. But he didn't talk about to stop the out of fire on the Gaza. This is what Netanyahu needs, and all that, and the American administration. The American administration, they have a strategic relation with that. Yes, they have some problems with Netanyahu as an individual, but they don't have problems as a case for the imperialism in our region. For the Israel play a role for the imperialism in our region, not only for the America, also for the Western. Because they they know that Israel is for its in our region.
Given its overwhelming military superiority, it has surprised, meaning Israel's overwhelming military superiority, it has surprised the world that the Israelis have accomplished so little militarily. In other words, they have succeeded in killing all of these civilians. Tens of thousands are dead, including so many children and their parents, their mothers. So many have been killed. So the Israelis are very successful at killing civilians. But so far, it seems to the world that it has not succeeded, in spite of its military superiority, in accomplishing its primary military objectives. How do you view that? Why is that?
From the beginning of this aggression on the Gaza Strip, the Zionist put two goals. The first one to return the prisoner, and the second thing to end Hamas or to end the resistance in Gaza. After 4 months now from this aggression, what they achieve on the ground? Did they return the prisoner? Did they end the Hamas or the resistance in the Gaza? Sure not, and will not achieve this goal because the resistance is all our people in Gaza is a resistance. Everyone on Gaza is a resistance because he didn't recognize between the one who resists and the civilian. He kills everyone. He kills everything in Gaza Strip.
Well, let me ask you then, in the same vein, the mass media in the United States portrays Hamas as the Palestinian resistance. In other words, Hamas and the resistance, one and the same. There are, in fact, several resistance organizations, including your own, the Popular Front for the Liberation of Palestine. Can you comment on the level of cooperation and coordination among the various resistance organizations?
Sure, there is a truth in the ground. This is a truth that in the first hours of the 7th October, the Hamas stopped this resistance. But now, from the second day of this war, all the resistance sharing and participating on the ground in this war, because this war is not against Hamas. This war is against all the Palestinian people, all the parties, all the resistance parties, PFLP, Hamas, Jihad, and others. They contribute with each other on the ground against this occupation, against this aggression. But the media in the West, in the USA and in Israel, says that this war against Hamas, against terrorists. But this is not true. The true that this aggression against all the Palestinian people, not only in Gaza. We see what happened in West Bank, and we see what happened in the other places. Every day, this occupation killed, this occupation destroyed, this occupation arrest. If we can see since 7th October till now, in West Bank, there are more than 6,300 prisoners, new prisoners. This is not against, this is against all the people. This is against Palestinian people. And everyone in the Palestinian people now resist this aggression, resist this Zionist occupation.
Let's turn to another subject. The whole world recognizes that there is a humanitarian crisis in Gaza, huge crisis. People are displaced, they're wounded, there's no medicine, people are having amputations without anesthesia, just terrible, terrible conditions. At the same time, the United States and some other major Western powers have announced that they are cutting all aid and funds to the UNRWA, the UN Relief Agency that has tens of thousands of employees in Gaza and has been a principal way that aid has been able to be provided for the people of Gaza for quite a number of years. The reason they're cutting the funds is that they've identified, or the Israelis actually said, that 12 employees of the relief agency out of tens of thousands of employees were actually either members of Hamas or participants in October 7th. Given the fact that the funding is being cut for the UN Relief Agency, what do you think its impact will be? I mean, let's have a realistic assessment of what its impact will be on the people in Gaza.
I think what they say about 7 or 12 members that Hamas or shared a participate in the 7th of October, is not really true. This is a political issue. We remember when Biden do the sanctuary deal. First, one of the most important things that to end the UNRWA, because the UNRWA or the UN nation for the relief for Palestinians is the witness of the Palestinian refugee, because the UNRWA established with the 194 resolution, which means that the UNRWA remains till the return to the Palestine. This is the first thing. Now they want to end the UNRWA, and Trump cut the budget of the UNRWA when he was the president of the USA. He cut and he obliged other countries to not to do the same thing, to stop the donation for the UNRWA. I think this is the political issue. I think this political issue will affect greatly on the Palestinian people, because there are millions of Palestinian people benefit from the UN services. To stop these services, what will happen? What will happen? I think that will be more problems in the Middle East, not only in Palestine, not only in Gaza, not only in West Bank, also in Lebanon, also in other countries. All the Palestinian refugees will affect. They make discussions in the Congress since 2 or 3 years about the definition of the refugee. Who is the? They need the refugee only the one who performed in Palestine 48, and all the others are not refugees. All what they do is to end the main issue, the main problem in the Palestinian issue, which is the refugee. This is the thing. They use the 7 or 12 Hamas and Hamas here, and they use something other in another place to do what they want or what they got.
Let's talk a little bit more about the West Bank. You mentioned the West Bank and what's going on there, but I want to explore that a little bit more. After the first Intifada between 1987 and 1991, there was an agreement by the United States, or an acknowledgement, that the Gaza and the West Bank should be treated as one central entity. And at that time, during the entire 1990s, the Israeli government kept sending more and more Israeli settlers into the West Bank, and also built the apartheid wall to isolate Palestinian communities. And now we're hearing reports of extreme settler violence against Palestinian civilians in the West Bank. Can you talk a little bit about what's going on in the West Bank?
First of all, if we back to the Oslo Agreement, in 1993, and they say in that time that should it's a result from this agreement, Palestinian state with Gaza and West Bank after more than 30 years. Now, what happened in Gaza? What happened in West Bank? There are more than 850,000 settlers in West Bank. They are, as you mentioned, there is an apartheid wall. There are cut all the cities. There is no continuity in the ground between the cities in West Bank. They enter every day to the West Bank. They kill, they destroy, they do what they want. And we saw yesterday when they entered to the hospital and killed the Palestinian in the hospital. The Zionist occupation who don't want Palestinian state or Palestinian entity. And it says this clearly. And also in the religion thing, they call this area Yehuda and Samira, and you may they mean that this is they mean in this word Yehuda and Samira that this is ground for the Zionists, for the Jewish, for them. They will not give this land for the Palestinian state. And what they say about the two states is this is failed. This is there is a negotiation about this since 10 of years or more about this. What they achieve on the ground? Nothing. They achieve more destroy prisoners, more massacres. This is in the ground what they happen. Now, if we can talk more, since 7 October till now, since 4 months, more than 6,000 prisoners, more than 300 Palestinians killed in the West Bank, more than 3 or 4,000 wounded in the West Bank. This is what happened. They have the same project for Gaza and for West Bank to remove the people. They want to get rid of the people in Gaza to Jordan and in Gaza to Sinai and in West Bank to Jordan. This is what they need. And we hear from a lot of the ministers and the Netanyahu minister to talk about this. Sometimes they want to do for humanitarian needs. Sometimes for that they in Gaza now there are no life, and they want to open the door to the Palestinians to go out the Gaza for the humanitarian thing. This is what they need.
Let's talk about the stage that we are in for the Palestinian movement, and from your point of view. Obviously, the Palestinian movement has gone through many different stages, different phases. The PLO, which was created in the 1960s as part of a rising tide of revolution, and then there was the 1967 Israeli war, where the West Bank and Gaza and Golan Heights and parts of Egypt were seized. There was the 1973 war. There was the Camp David summit that basically took Egypt out of the confrontation with Israel on behalf of the Palestinians. There was the 1982 war in Lebanon, the Intifada. We've gone through so many different stages and phases of this very, very long struggle. And the struggle won't stop. As you said, it appears that it will be an enduring struggle, something that will continue. From your point of view, what is required to bring about the unification of the Palestinian resistance on both the national and on the political level?
As you said, the Palestinian issue passes since 1948, or before also, since 1929, 1936, then 1948, 67, 73, 78, 82, and 87 Intifada, the first Intifada, and 2007 Intifada, all dishes. What they happen? Each stage, the Palestinians become more strong, become more focused on rights. We see what happened in October 7. We see what happened in October 7. October 7 not start in October 7. The October 7 starts before 17 years. when they make a siege on Gaza. They start since 57 years when they occupied Gaza. In 7 October, it comes in a process of resistance, not isolated from the previous, and will not be isolated from the coming actions and coming resistance. I think now, as a BFLB, and we make an initiate that to build a unifying command for all the Palestinian parties, in order to be responsible for the political and for the political stage in this time, because now we need all the Palestinian parties to be one hand, to be unified with their struggles, with their resistance, because this is only the one who will win. We need unity in order to make after the war, to make the rebuild Gaza. We need a unity in order to continue the resistance against this Zionist occupation. Unity in order to be strong against any thing that will be pushed against as you see, the United States says a lot of things about the day after the war ends. But if we are unified, we will not do anything. The one who decides what will after the first day after the end of this war, only the Palestinians and the resistance will decide what will happen after this day. According to us, the day after the end of this war will be the victory, will be the one of this war. This is what we. And the PLO, we need to rebuild the PLO on the. We need the PLO to be a part from the PLO. According to the resistance, not according to the negotiation. This is what we need.
Let me ask you, since you are in Lebanon, what is the state, or what has been the impact of the war in Gaza on Palestinians living in refugee camps outside of Gaza, and in particular inside of Lebanon? Has it had a big impact? If so, how?
First of all the Palestinians in Gaza or in Lebanon or in any other country, the Palestinian one unity, one people, and also what happened in Gaza sure affect on Palestinian in Lebanon. The Palestinian in Lebanon, the Palestinian refugee in Lebanon shared in this war, shared in this resistance, in many things, in military bases, in demonstration, on media, on a lot of things. The Palestinian refugee in Lebanon are part of this people, so they are part of this resistance, because the Palestinians are one unit everywhere in the world.
Let me ask you one final question. Since October 7th, as I mentioned in the beginning, millions of people outside of Palestine have been in the streets demonstrating. In Washington, D.C., on November 4th, we were part of a coalition that brought 500,000 people, 500,000 people, to the biggest demonstration ever in support of Palestine. On January 13th, there was another massive demonstration in Washington. every day there are big protests all over the United States. Nothing like this has ever existed before in support of Palestine. It's a brand new era, brand new. And it's not just in the United States, it's everywhere. I just want to know from your point of view as a Palestinian and part of the resistance, obviously the struggle is in the West Bank, and it's in Gaza, it's in historic Palestine, it's in the refugee camps. But now it has this other global phenomena of mass protests in support of Palestine. Is it significant? Why is it significant? Do the Palestinian people know about it? I want to just get your view, because from our point of view, where we are, I'm in New York City, it seems like we've entered a new political era. But how does the Palestinian community in Palestine or in the region view this development politically?
I think in USA and in all the world in general is very important. Why very important? Very important because the first time in USA we saw this massive demonstration or this action. The first thing that this massive demonstration give us the strong, give us the what I mean that now the Palestinian story in the world is the dominant. Before we say the most the Zionist story was the dominant in all the world. Now the Zionist and all the world and popular, not in government about the popular movement, they now have a big problem. We saw what happened in Lahore. This is the first time. From the beginning of the Zionist occupation, they also always talk about the genocide of Jewish in the Second War. But now, what happened? They are who do the genocide. This is very important now. That's very important thing. They swerved from the one who is was genocide to the one who are the genocidal. Now, this is a very important thing. Now, in this war, more and more people know really about the Palestinian issue. There are more clear about the Palestinian issue. For example, in USA, more than 50% of the young of the people in the USA are now with the Palestinian issue. People now more conscious, more clear about the Palestinian issue. The media does not affect on the people like before. Now they do what they really are. This is very important for the Palestinian. For the first time, the Palestinian issue of the Palestinian story has spread in all the world, spread in everyone. This is, and we see that the Biden or the American administration now affected from this transformation in the USA. This is very important for our people. All the Palestinian refugee here or in Gaza talk in this. Talk about this position for the people inside the USA and inside all other countries. For example, in Europe, every week, like the New York or like the Washington, there is a massive demonstration this is very important for us. This is very important solidarity with the Palestinian people. It is if something will affect on the Biden administration will be this massive demonstration in USA and in other countries.
All right, we're going to leave it right there. We've been speaking with Haitham Abdo. Haitham, thank you so much for joining us. Again, we wanted to hear your voice because, unfortunately, the United States government has determined that resistance organizations, including PFLP, are, quote, terrorists. And as a consequence, there is almost an inability for the American people to hear your side, to hear what you're saying, to hear what you're thinking. And that's why I think this interview is so important. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for your good.
Ay, palagay ko overtime na, no? Okay, tama na. Time naman po pag pahinga natin mga kababayan. So, ito na. Ayan. Ayan po mga suki mga kababayan, no?
Female voice, male voice, lolly voice, monster voice.
Ayan, tapos na po ang balita. Paalam tayo sa gabing ito. Okay, dito po sa Consolidated News natin, magmula po sa platform ng ADLSNTV News Online. Okay. Balitang international yun, no? Ayan. Okay, mag-end po ang programa sa gabi ito. Babalik tayo bukas Friday, no? Ayan. Babalik tayo bukas, no? Ayan. So, dito lamang po sa programa Halo-Halo Special, Opinion Balita Tiba pa. Kasama po sa Servisyo Publiko Tinig ng Mamamayan. And then sumbungan po ng mamamayan, no? Okay? Hindi na natin po makuha ng plano pagpunta po ni Senator Amy Marcos, i-reach daw si Tatay Digong, no? Okay, i-reach daw. Puntahan daw niya sa Davao. Okay, para masalba ang unity team, mga kababayan, no? Para masalba. At saka itong people initiative na hindi na po mapatuloy. Ayan po mga sugat. Yan naman ang umpisa po ng okay, mahigpit na controversy sa mga kababayan, no? Okay, yung people initiative. Ayan. So, paalam tayo. Okay, wala tayong masamang tinapay dito sa programa natin. Tuloy-tuloy lang mga kababayan magbigay ng patas. Okay, authorities ng mga kabilang panig at saka itong mga kabila naman, okay, mangarap po na magkaroon sila ng kapayapaan, no? Ayan. Okay, wala tayong masamang tinapay. This has been Abs Damahan lamang po sa gabing ito. Babalik tayo bukas. Okay, tuloy-tuloy lang bumili sa tindahan namin para tuloy-tuloy din ang programa, mga kababayan, no? Okay, kung wala nang pondo ang programa, hindi na niyo marinig po, mga suki, mga kababayan, no? Okay. So, pag malakas kayo bumili ng tindahan namin, okay ba, parehas online, parehas pumunta sa physical store, ay tuloy-tuloy din po ang ang programa natin, no? Okay, mahalagang mga balita. Ayan. Bye-bye na.